Hello, I am live. And this is Sandra Allen Lovelace. I am a conqueror, a consultant, and a coach. I serve in the area of trauma healing and recovery. But that's who I am. I am a conqueror and a consultant and a coach. It is my purpose, and it's changing. That is the title today. The times are changing, and I can't say exactly what that means, but here in this space, I have been saying for a time that these Facebook Lives are probably not going to continue forever, that there was a sense that the Lord was going to bring this to an end. And that is getting stronger, and I am now approaching him to ask him what that change will look like. There's been a lot of, I'm going to use the term upheaval, but I don't mean it in the negative tone that it often brings. It's a shift that's major. It's a spiritual, that I serve in the mind, body, spirit, healing and recovery approach. And the spiritual shift is massive. This last while, as I've spoken about it, he's calling me to live by faith, not by sight, not just in my mind and in my spirit, although true and real and strong, but in my body, to function by faith and not by sight. Through and through. It's not an easy shift. It's a big one, especially in certain areas where a lack of stability, let's say, a lack of security that the world would describe, actually has typically thrown me into survival, way past stress, up into survival. And I cannot function there because survival means freeze and fawn. This is not, this time in history, this time in my life, this is not a time to allow those kinds of things to take away my power, my potential, my agency. It's not a time for that. It's a time to trust God and function anyway. And by doing that, brings my prefrontal cortex back into working order. So I don't know exactly what the shift will look like, but this is likely going to peter out and just end, at least for a time. So here's my thing today. If you've been here and you're here now and you appreciate in some odd way, I don't know, God has his ways, from the things I've shared about my journey, this is a big place in my journey. It's not... The comparison is not as it used to be, jumping off a cliff. Yeah, not even falling off, but that I'm running. There's a cliff there. Put your brakes on, and I go over the cliff. That's how I used to feel all the time. But rather, there is a cliff. There's also a bridge. And trust me when I tell you I know exactly what I'm talking about. I was on a bridge like that in Thailand, with a ravine, deep, long, wide. There wasn't a way to go down and cross. This had to be crossed to get where we needed to go see the elephants and have a ride in the jungle. And there was a walking suspension bridge to go across. You had to hold on. It looked pretty safe. It was metal. It seemed pretty secure, but not when you got on it. And not when one of the leaders of the group I was with thought it was really funny to get on there and shake it. That wasn't funny. But I made it across. And this is so great to be able to share with you the analogies, because as I'm checking what's going on inside, I do remember how I lived that way of going over a cliff. I better stop. I better not do that. I better run the other way, find some distracting activity to keep me from going that way. And God is telling me, no, Sandra, this is the time. Now is the time. Such a time as this. To cross that bridge, to recognize it is a ravine, but you're not going over. You're coming across the bridge more fully into the purpose for which you were created. Now, here's my last point. I believe that God is calling his women forward all over the place. It isn't just me. I might be describing it differently. I might actually be talking about it when other women are just doing the job on the inside. There's very little difference. The fear, the overwhelming pressure to either freeze, let it all pass by. You'll live through it if you do that. Well, we might live through it, but what kind of life is that? Or fawn. I'm just going to hide over here and try to camouflage. Maybe nobody will notice and I'll live. Because surely if I move at all as a fawn, a baby fawn being hidden in the grass by their mom, if I move, I'm going to die. Somebody's going to get me. I'm not living. I'm choosing not to live in either of those long time, lifelong, decades-long patterns. I refuse. Hi, Robin. Welcome in. I'm so glad you're here, Robin. My suspicion is that you too, although I think that God called you forward in some of these same ways I'm talking about today in the past, that you are actually ahead of me on this journey. But that's okay. I'll recap for you quickly, but you might want to go and listen to this again. But look, God is calling me forward. That's the upshot of the whole thing. He is calling me forward. And it means that I'm clashing. He's calling me out of, I love you too. He's calling me out of those old patterns of being distracted, trying to find a different way around that ravine that I'm afraid that I'm running toward and I will crash over and die. But there are no other ways around. Okay, I've tried that for decades now. There isn't any other way around. But the ravine is not a crash and die. The ravine is the place where God has arranged a bridge, and it doesn't look all that strong. It's not the kind a highway crew has built. It's a bridge of all the truth about who he is, his character. He is good, and he's been so convincing me of his love for me recently. Well, probably a very, very long time, but lately I've been really seeing it, where he's been meeting my needs in actually tangible ways to draw me forward for this trip. I'm going on a mission trip in September. And he's just provided all the money for my tickets to get there. I'm going to Seoul. Yeah. He's making it ever more real. Because those truths of who he is, how much he loves me, all that Jesus has done to redeem my life, those truths are the bridge across. As I mentioned earlier, the bridge that I crossed in Thailand. We had to cross this bridge and there was no way around, far as you could see. It was a very deep, very wide, very scary ravine. Canyon, maybe even. You had to cross it on this bridge. Now, granted, it had wire cables. It wasn't one of the old rope and wood ones. It had metal strips to walk on. But you had to hang on. And that's the bridge that I'm looking at. And my feet are on it now. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but it is a shift. It's a major shift. And my feet are on there and I am walking forward. And so the shift means changes. And as I said, and this will be my closing, I'm not sure about this. God whispered to me some time ago, and I've mentioned it here. This has been my sort of Dear Diary place where he called me to share on the cutting edge of this healing and recovery journey out of trauma. And I've been doing that faithfully for a couple of years anyway. And they're all saved. These videos are all saved, and they'll be up on YouTube eventually. But I think he's telling me I need to let this go. I think that's what he's telling me. But I'm going to check in with him. So pray along with me. That's my request to everybody that sees this. Thank you, Robin. But anybody else too. Pray for me to hear the Lord. Hi, Rhonda. Prayer. I'm requesting prayer because I'm heading into a very major shift in my life. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to look like. And that's where I am now. Before God, asking him, show me exactly what you want me to do, exactly how long you're giving me to do it. Robin, you in particular know about that because when you're on deadline, you're on deadline. What is God saying about it? Thank you, Rhonda, for sticking in here. It's very powerful. I hope that, I'm calling everybody that watches, whether you're live or whether you're watching the recording, to pray and comment, like, share, whatever, to spread the word. Sandra's she's being invited into a shift. She's accepted the challenge. She crossed that bridge built on who God is and his truth, his promises, his protection, his provision, all the things. So pray for me as I work to sort it out. Probably I'll come back and explain when I know for sure. But for today, pray me along that journey. Thanks so much, Rhonda. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for your prayer. It means more than I can express. Those of you who are going to watch the recording and pray, that's the same for you. So God bless your day. He is blessing mine so richly. Bye-bye.